Hello. Good evening, everyone, to all those who are watching this lecture online, live, or perhaps you will watch it later. My name is Abhishek. I will be taking two topics of essay which UPSC did ask this year. Both the topics are from section A. So the first topic which I will be taking is a very nice statement. Philosophy of wantlessness is utopian while materialism is chimera. That is the first topic I will be taking. And the second topic, which actually is even more philosophical, if you thought this is philosophical, then the second topic is even more philosophical, is the real is rational and the rational is real. So both of these topics were part of section A. Before I start discussing about these topics, few things which I would like to highlight here. What I think about this year's essay paper. And I'm very sure that by now you already have heard opinion of so many people. So I'm just adding on to that. I hope I have something new to add here. So what I felt, so for example, if you look at the trend for last 3-4 years, you'll find that one of the section exclusively, in one of the sections, they asked abstract topics. They asked philosophical topics. And in the section B, that was generally section A, and in the section B, they asked some specific topics. Topics from current affairs, things which you study in your general studies preparation. This year, they have went further and they are now saying that leave section B, even in section B, we are going to put philosophical topics. So in both section A and section B, all of the 8 topics, they are philosophical. Now, what I perceive from after looking at all these topics is that if you are just focusing upon ready-made material, for example, there is a trend right now that monthly magazine ka summary पढ़ लिया, that Hindu ka daily summary you are getting to, you are able to read this daily summary of the Hindu as well as the weekly summary as well as the monthly summary. There is so much ready-made material available. So students are not doing a general reading of newspaper or some very standard textbooks which ideally you should, right? Or some long articles which take some time but you should read them. So I feel that UPSC wants that this trend should be broken. कि हमने एक बना बनाया रेडीमेड मटेरियल पढ़ लिया, तो ये बना बनाया रेडीमेड मटेरियल पढ़ के आपसे ऐसे नहीं हो पाएगा. You will not be able to write a very good essay if you have this habit of studying everything in a summary form. Right? So you need to read newspaper by yourself. You need to read good articles. If you are coming across a good article on a topic, say for example, topic of relevance, please go and read that. If you are coming across a good book, maybe that book also had some relevance for your syllabus, please go and read that. So in general, they want a candidate who is more versatile in his or her preparation. Okay? And that's why I feel that all of these topics this year, they were philosophical and they required some critical thinking. You cannot write an essay on any of these topics without proper critical thinking in the exam room itself. I'm very sure that except perhaps 1 or 2 topics which were some students of optional they read while preparing for their optional subject, apart from that, I don't think any of the topics was very familiar. Right? So you have to do a critical analysis of the topic then and there only. You have 3 hours. You get 1.5 hours for each essay. So you have to do a brainstorm of about, say for example, 30 to 35 minutes. तुमको क्या करना है? कि I have 1.5 hour to write an essay. In 1.5 hours, what I will do? I will take about 30 to 35 minutes. I will do brainstorming. The first half an hour, 30 to 35 minutes, I will do brainstorming. In fact, first few minutes तो उसमें लग जाएगा कि which topics you are going to write essay upon. What are the 2 topics you are going to select? That will also take some time, especially if the topics are so difficult and so abstract in nature. So it will take some time. आपको थोड़ा time उसमें भी देना पड़ेगा. 4-5 minutes you will have to think. तो 5 मिनट तो आपका देखो उसमें निकल गया. Then you are coming to a decision that okay, now I have to divide my time equally, because that is also very important. If you just write one essay If your entire energy is spent on one essay, then your marks is going to suffer in this essay paper. So you have to do, you have to be honest. You have to give equal time to both these essays. थोड़ा बहुत चल जाएगा, 4-5 minutes चल जाएगा कि चलो ठीक है, on one essay you gave 1 hour 35 minutes or 1 hour 40 minutes in fact, and on another essay you gave 1 hour 25 minutes or 1 hour 20 minutes, but not less than that. Otherwise आपका essay suffer करेगा, आपका mark suffer करेगा. So ideally you should take 30 to 35 minutes to brainstorm, and once you have, so how you brainstorm? When you read a topic, and stream of consciousness will come to your mind that, okay, there are so many thoughts that will come to your mind that what all I can write. So for example, let's start with the first topic. Let's start with the first topic which I have to take in today's class. Philosophy of wantlessness. Philosophy of wantlessness is utopian while materialism is chimera. This was the topic. So when you read this topic, lot of things will pop up to your mind that what all I can write here, what this topic exactly means. So a lot of thoughts will come to your mind. You have to write down those thoughts as a rough. पहले हम start कैसे करेंगे? How I start? So I am going to take this discussion as an aspirant. That if I am an aspirant and I have to write this essay on this topic, how I am going to proceed? So first, lot of thoughts will come to my mind because based on what I perceive from this topic, or what are all the contents available in my mind. So I'm going to write down all my thoughts, but that is only the initial step. The most important step is that how I'm going to organize this thought, how I'm going to structure this essay. That is very important. जब आप essay लिख रहे हो तो आप ऐसा नहीं कि जो भी thought जैसे stream of consciousness की तरह जैसे आ रहा है, as the thought pops up in your mind and you start writing essay on it, then again your essay will suffer. It needs to be coherent. It needs to have a proper structure. That is very important. So there are basic rules you have to adopt. Introduction, conclusion. Ideally, if they are connected in somehow, it's okay. Even if they are not, it's okay. So introduction, conclusion, then main body. Main body, whenever you are writing an idea, one idea should be written in one paragraph. In one paragraph, you should not write more than one idea. That is again very important. These are basic thumb rules. When you are writing essay, these are basic thumb rules. कि जब मैं एक कोई idea लिख रहा हूँ, if I am writing an idea, then I should finish that idea in one paragraph. I should not introduce a new idea in the same paragraph. If I am introducing a new idea, I will change my paragraph. That is very important part of structure. The second part of structure is that whatever idea of the paragraph is, it should be either my first or my second statement. That is called topical sentence. That whatever idea I am going to pursue in my essay, it should be the first or second sentence. Then if I have some reasoning, if I have some data, if I have some facts, if I have read some reports to substantiate that idea, that will be part of my main body. Right? So that is, and once you do that, automatically a very good structure will, your essay will have a very good structure. And if you are transitioning from one idea to another idea, it should look organic. It should look that there is a convergence among these ideas. ऐसा नहीं कि एक बार कुछ और बात कर रहे थे and suddenly I started talking about something else. That should not happen. Ideas should be coherent, right? There should be convergence among them. ठीक है? चलो, let's, with all this in mind, let's start this topic. So first, because this is an abstract topic, this is a philosophical topic, first it's very important that we need to interpret this topic. Now, here is the thing. In such philosophical topics, there cannot be one way to write an essay. ऐसा बिल्कुल कोई भी अगर बोल रहा है that this is the way you have to write an essay, then that is not correct. in such philosophical topics, there can be different interpretations. Of course, those interpretations should not vary that much. There can be different way of writing that essay. So what I felt after looking at this topic and how I'm going to proceed, so that is my, in a way, that is my way of writing. But you can adopt your own way of writing. Right? What do you think about this topic? So what I felt from this topic, philosophy of wantlessness is utopian, while materialism is chimera. So first of all of these words are very known except chimera. So chimera, you should know, chimera is a word. Chimera was a monster from Greek mythology, a dangerous monster who had the face of a lion, body of a goat, tail of a dragon, and she needed to be killed. So she was a monster. Anyways, I do not have to describe chimera in my essay. That is just for understanding. So materialism is something which is not desirable. What it means here is that materialism is in fact leave desirable. Materialism is something which can cause destruction or is already causing destruction. So essay has two parts. Philosophy of wantlessness is utopian. Utopian means an ideal state, right? An ideal state, something which we aspire for, something which we know perhaps will not exist, but still we aspire for it. Right? So utopia generally exists in our mind, that what should be the ideal world as per us. Okay? So that idealism does not have to exist. That is the most important thing here in this topic. Philosophy of wantlessness. Wantlessness is when we are devoid of desires, when we do not have wants. That is utopian, right? So we do not have to go to that utopian, we have to aspire for it. But while we are aspiring for it, we need to understand that materialism is chimera. This pursuit of material goods, this pursuit of material needs, that is not desirable as an individual, that is not desirable on a societal level, that is definitely not desirable as for this entire planet. And we are going to look at many evidences to support this assertion. So for example, how I can start this topic, okay? How I can start, because there are so many keywords directly given in the statement itself. I can use with any of the statement. For example, in the introduction itself, I can interpret this topic. I can also start with a quote. For example, Gandhi ji ka jo bahut famous quote hai, that there is, in this world we have for everyone's need, the world has enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. That is the gist of this entire essay. So we need to understand the difference between want and need. We need water, we need food, we need shelter. But do we need expensive phones? Right? So do we need luxury goods? We do not need that. But somehow we feel that if we try to pursue for these luxury goods, it will give us happiness. And that happiness you will never get. Luxury goods will not give you happiness. So this notion of happiness, we have to write our essay on this. कि हमारा focus क्या है? Ideally we should focus on wantlessness, but leave it. We know that that is utopian. We do not have to achieve the state of wantlessness. Only monks can do that. Buddha did it, right? Buddha did it. Some other sages did it. We do not have to reach to that stage, but we at least need to understand that this pursuit of material goods, that is not going to help us. That is not going to give us sustainable happiness. That is the gist of this entire essay. And we have to substantiate this understanding in this entire essay. So I can start with Gandhiji's very famous quote. Or recently I was reading a book called Psychology of Money. Very, very interesting book. And I came across a chapter. In that chapter, there is a story. In every chapter, there is a story. And I felt that one of those stories I can quote, because I have read this book, I can quote that story in my introduction. For example, the story goes like this. There is a very famous novel called Catch 22. The author of Catch 22, so I am suggesting an introduction here. One introduction can be, देखो introduction बहुत सारे हो सकते हैं. This is again my suggestion, my opinion. For example, I can start with Gandhiji's quote, right? I can start with Gandhiji's quote that world has enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. A very cliched quote, बहुत सारे लोग quote करते हैं इसको, but ठीक है, we can start with that. Or I can start with a story. So I'm going to tell you a story. Story is the author of Catch 22. There is a novel called Catch 22, a very famous novel. The name of the author is Joseph Heller. Joseph Heller was attending a party. Joseph Heller was attending a party. That party was organized by a hedge fund manager. So one of the friends of Joseph Heller went to him and told him that, do you know this person who has organized this party has made more money in a day than you have made in your entire life? Okay? So he makes this observation that he has made more money in a day than you have done that in your entire life. So Joseph Heller replies to him, but I have something which he does not have. That is enough. This notion of enough, that I have enough. I do not need anything more. That was his reply. His reply was that I have something which he does not have. That is enough. I do not have greed. I do not have greed to pursue more and more material wealth. I am happy with whatever I have achieved in my life. I am more than happy. More material goods, more money is not going to make me happier. That was his reply. I felt that this story will fit very nicely in this essay. Okay. So if you have a similar story like that, again, this is just one of the story, and as it turns out that because I was reading this book, I came across this story. So if you have a similar story like that, which can, as I interpreted this topic, if this story is as per the interpretation of the topic, I can narrate the story in the introduction itself. Okay? Then I will jump to the topic. So what is exactly philosophy of wantlessness? Now philosophy of wantlessness, that was, in fact, ये जो term है wantlessness, one of the great Indian economists and philosopher who is not very known, not as known as Amartya Sen, but nonetheless a great economist as well as a philosopher. His name was J.K. Mehta. He was an economist and philosopher in pre-independent India. He gives you this idea of philosophy of wantlessness. Can I start? Sorry guys, there was some technical glitch in the audio. I really do not like when my flow is broken. So I will restart what I was saying. So as I was saying, I was explaining the philosophy of wantlessness. So I can take the Buddhist idea here. I can take the Buddhist idea. Buddha talks about the reason of sorrow in this world. And he said that the fundamental reason of sorrow is our desires. Right? So, I am using another name here, not a very famous name, but a very important one, J.K. Mehta. He is very famous for his philosophy of wantlessness. A pre-independent Indian philosopher as well as economist. He redefines the discipline of economics. He says that philosophy of wantlessness is an endeavor to gain personal freedom where we do not have to pursue our desires. We only have to pursue our needs. Right? So, and by doing that, we can achieve happiness. So, philosophy of wantlessness by J.K. Mehta, he tells that it is an endeavor to gain freedom from wants. An endeavor to gain freedom from wants. Okay? And reach the state of happiness. Because what happens is that we have desires, right? We have desires. Those desires are source of pain because as long as those desires are not satisfied, it will cause us pain. So, बड़ा ही vicious cycle है that we have desires. This desire will cause you pain. But say this desire is fulfilled. This desire is fulfilled. But as this desire is fulfilled, now my desire shifts. I want a recurrent. I will now have a new desire. मेरे पास आईफोन आ गया, अब मुझे आईफोन का मुझे एप्पल का वॉच भी चाहिए, मुझे BMW की गाड़ी भी चाहिए, right? So once my desire is fulfilled, it's not that I stop there. Now I have a new desire. So now I have a recurrent need, a recurrent satisfaction which is required, and that recurrent satisfaction becomes a source of perpetual sorrow. Right? So we are perpetually in pain because of our desires. That is, so philosophy of wantlessness teaches us that we need to understand the difference between need and want. ये दोनों different चीजें हैं. What we need and what we want, they are different things, and we need to understand it. I'm using the word need here. So that is what philosophy of wantlessness is, right? The philosophy of wantlessness wants us to appreciate this thing, that we need to understand the difference between need and desire. We do not have to fall into this vicious cycle where a recurrent need of satisfaction is a source of perpetual sorrow. Okay? That leads to materialism. तो यहाँ पे कैसे मैं jump करूँगा? This is the starting part of my essay. In the starting part of my essay, I was explaining the philosophy of wantlessness. So philosophy of wantlessness stems from the fact that we need to understand this difference between need and want. Right? So philosophy of wantlessness gives you freedom, it gives you happiness. That may be chalo utopia, then where everyone has achieved this stage where no one needs anything, not exactly, no one wants material goods. That is an utopia. I am not interested in that utopia. I am interested in rope. Let's not use the word interested. I do not think that that utopia is possible, because the meaning of utopia in itself is that it is a idealistic world. I do not have to be part of this idealistic world. But we need to understand that this vicious cycle of desire and pain that leads to materialism, that is how I will jump to the next part of my essay. तो अभी मैंने क्या किया था, शुरू के 1-2 पैराग्राफ में I explained the philosophy of wantlessness. What exactly does it mean? I explained the reason of our perpetual sorrow, and then now I am jumping to, we feel that this perpetual sorrow can be solved if I get more and more material requirements, and that creates lot of causes. So अब जो second part मेरा जो essay होगा वो होगा to explain this phenomena. Materialism as chimera, a monster which needs to be culled, a monster which needs to be dealt with, and it is a monster, and I'm going to show you with lot of proof that why materialism is chimera. So I can do this analysis, that is also very good way of doing analysis, that I can do this analysis at stakeholder level. Who are the stakeholders? So stakeholder is not just an individual. The pursuit of material goods has a disastrous impact not only on individual, but also on society, also on nation, as well as also on the entire planet. So I'm going to do this analysis at 3 levels, that why materialism is chimera. The first analysis I will do that at individual level. Then I will do this analysis at societal level. And finally, I will do this analysis, this impact of materialism on planet. Impact of materialism on planet. So at planetary level, at global level, what is the impact of this materialism at global level? Let's understand the impact of materialism on individual level. Because of materialism, I already have established that we are in a perpetual pain. Now this materialism is taking new forms, modern issues which have emerged because of materialism. We are living in a digital era. In this digital era, we have this need of getting validated by our social media posts. I have bought a very fancy shirt. I have went to a vacation at a very fancy location. Maldives में गया हूँ. I stay in a 5-star resort at Maldives. I click pictures and I upload that on social media websites, Facebook, Instagram, and then I wait for likes. People are going to comment. People are going to like my picture. So this need of validation in digital era, right? That creates a sort of loneliness. So materialism, pursuit of material good is leading to a lot of mental health issues. We have forgotten about interpersonal communication. Our era, our world now revolves around our digital devices, right? We have forgotten about interpersonal communication, and that leads to all sort of mental health issues, loneliness, anxiety, FOMO, fear of missing out, right? People have become insecure, people have become anxious. Why they have become insecure? There are so many, if you go and switch on your television, or if you go on internet, you'll find thousands of ads where they promote beauty products, cosmetic products. Are you not fit? Are you eating healthy? Are you beautiful? If you are not, then you need to apply our product. Look at our model, how beautiful they are, how fit they are. Why are you not that fit? So when you try to start comparing yourself with such personification of beauty, then you get insecurity. You become anxious, and that leads to depression. So this insecurity, this anxiety, that is because of our pursuit of material goods. कि हमको क्या चाहिए? If I look good by applying cosmetic creams, if I go to fancy vacations, if I have a very expensive phone, very expensive watch, people are going to appreciate that. But that never happens. People do not appreciate someone else's fancy goods. They do not appreciate you. They become jealous themselves. So it leads to a negative value. jealousy. This feeling of jealousy that this person has, I do not have. And again, jealousy is also not desirable. So these modern problems, such as I can highlight, I can do this analysis at individual level, that in modern world, because of our pursuit of material goods, we are facing a lot of issues at individual level. Some of those issues, and you can quote some reports, in fact, आप जितने भी reports, current affairs आपने पढ़ा होगा, that this feeling of depression among especially teenagers, that is increasing. More and more research highlight that this feeling of fear of missing out, insecurity, anxiety, that is increasing among teenagers. The suicide rate is increasing among teenagers, right? Because we have new standards of beauty, we have new standards of, you have Samsung ka phone, that person has iPhone. You have iPhone 12, that person has iPhone 13. What are you doing? You have been to Shimla, he has gone to Maldives. So there are new standards. And we are trying to pursue those new standards, not only applicable for teenagers, in fact, it is applicable for adults also, right? This college mate of yours, he is doing so good in your life. He has now a life in US. What are you doing here? Right? So all this leads to a sense of insecurity, a sense of anxiety, okay? And this also leads to deterioration of personal relationships, where there was a report, and in fact, I can quote this report later, that people wanted to find out the source of happiness. What makes us really happy? Is money a reason? So yes, money plays a role. First of all, we need to understand that money plays a role, but money does not cause happiness. You know what causes happiness? Happiness is caused if you have a good relationship with your partner. If you are part of a family, if you are part of a community, you are doing community work, your motives are altruistic, you are appreciated at your work, you are recognized at your work, these things lead to happiness. Money does not lead to happiness. Resources does not lead to happiness. So we need to explain that why materialism is a chimera at individual level, with highlighting some modern issues. If you have some newspaper, some relevant news, if you have some relevant report, quote that, right? Let's understand what is happening at societal level. At societal level, now we are living in a consumption culture. We are consuming. We have become consumers. We are consuming everything. There is excess of everything available. And it does not have to be some material good. There is excess of television shows, excess of movies, entertainment sources जो पहले बहुत limited थे, they have become in excess. So I'm not just talking about material things which I can see, which I can feel. So there is an excess of things. We are living in a consumeristic era where consumerism is the guiding principle, right? So our values have changed. As a society, our value was, so for example, and that can be explained with a very good example, look at older Hindi movies. If you look at older Hindi movies, they showed values such as altruism. Now, more and more movies are promoting hedonism, a pursuit of pleasure for us. Every individual is pursuing their pleasure at the cost of someone's sorrow. So, as a society, our values have shifted from altruism to hedonism. And I have a very good example for that. Look at our movies. How our movies have changed in the last 40-50 years, right? There is a very famous book by, at societal level, there is a lot of focus on individuality, individual pursuit of material goods. There is a very famous book by Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey, one of the best selling books, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In that book, Stephen Covey he tells you that there are 3 paradigms of living. We are first, when we are born, we are dependent. Later when we start earning, we become independent. So independence is definitely a higher paradigm. From dependence, we become independent. which definitely is a higher paradigm. There is no doubt about that. But we are stuck at this independence and we have forgotten that there is even a higher paradigm which is called interdependence. Rather than pursuing wealth, rather than pursuing just for material goods for ourselves, we have forgotten that we live in a society, we live in a family. So our world is a world where interdependence is the highest paradigm, and we are forgetting that because of this blind pursuit of material goods, right? At global level, this pursuit of material goods has caused a lot of environmental issues. That is, अब यहाँ पे आप यूपीएससी का नॉलेज देखो, अभी तक हम फिलोसॉफिकल बातें कर रहे थे, अब आप बिल्कुल आप यूपीएससी का नॉलेज यहाँ पे कर सकते हो. ऑल द रिपोर्ट्स यू हैव रेड, ऑल द डेटा विच यू हैव, दिस परस्यूट ऑफ, यहां से मैं क्या करूंगा, मैं आई विल, ये जो एक्सेसिव कंजम्पशन है, दिस एक्सेसिव कंजम्पशन, from here I can transition to global problems, right? The entire world is facing the problem of waste management. Entire world is facing the problem of waste management. We are generating huge amount of waste which cannot be recycled by natural ecosystems. So our natural ecosystems, they are stressed. They are stressed, and that stress is causing many environmental adverse events, right? It has caused pollution, pollution of all level, water pollution, land pollution, air pollution, this pursuit of material good, right? It has degraded our natural ecosystems. Degradation of natural ecosystems. Degradation of natural ecosystems. All these environmental problems, global warming, industrial development after second and third industrial revolution, which was led by developed nations, that has caused the issue of global warming, which literally is a global issue, right? Climate change, there is not a single region of the world which is not affected by climate change. This happened because of the blind pursuit of humanity towards material goods. We were never satisfied, right? Another problem is that right now we are living in a world which again is a global issue, that which is a world of stark contradictions. We have United States of America, we have European nations where there is plenty. Then we also have many African and Asian nations where billions of people are going without food. So we are living in a world which has stark contradictions. Unparalleled economic growth, but it has also led to relentless destruction of natural environment. This unparalleled economic growth has also led to relentless destruction of natural environment. This is what you need to highlight when you are analyzing why materialism is a chimera at global level. Okay? तो ये हमारा मोर और लेस, जितना भी आपके पास देखो डेटा है, जितने भी फैक्ट्स हैं, जो भी आपने पढ़ा है, आप हाईलाइट कर सकते हो. You can quote, for example, I was looking at World Happiness Report. United Nations का, यूनाइटेड नेशन जो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट नेटवर्क सॉल्यूशंस हैं, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट नेटवर्क सॉल्यूशंस, दे पब्लिश अ रिपोर्ट कॉल्ड वर्ल्ड हैप्पीनेस रिपोर्ट, राइट? दिस वर्ल्ड हैप्पीनेस रिपोर्ट टेल्स यू that we have excess, but we also have now crisis of obesity, crisis of diabetes. We have more number of smokers in the world. More people are depressed in the world. Less and less people are happy in this world. Why? Because we have forgotten the advice of our sages. We have forgotten the advice of Buddha, where he talks about middle path. We have forgotten the advice of Aristotle, who talks about golden mean. Material gain will not fulfill our deepest need. That can be my conclusion now. So what is my conclusion? I am coming to the end part of my essay. I have explained the philosophy of wantlessness. I also explained that how this philosophy of wantlessness is a utopia, which is desirable, but there is a case that we will never have that utopia, right? Although some can say that we have to dream about it. जैसे जॉन लेनन का एक famous song है ना, Imagine. So yes, we can dream about it, but we do not have to go to that utopia. हमको utopia नहीं बनना. अगर utopia हो जाए तो amazing है, but we need to understand that this blind pursuit of material goods, that is causing a lot of destruction. ये हमारा conclusion होगा. So in conclusion, I can talk about Buddha's middle path. I can talk about Aristotle golden mean. I can talk about that material gain does not fulfill our deepest needs. You know what are our deepest needs? Our deepest needs are that we have a good relationship with our partner. We have a loving relationship with our parents, right? Our parents are happy. We are doing community work. We are helping someone who is in need. We are helping the marginalized, the weaker section of society. We are helping animals. That will give you happiness. We are recognized at our work. We gain recognition. We gain value for our work. That will give you happiness. This blind pursuit of money will not give you happiness. So it is time we need to go back to wise advices of sages such as Buddha, that to promote the end of suffering, to end the suffering, sorry, not to promote the end of suffering, to end the suffering and to attain happiness, we need to understand what makes us happy. And when we do that, we will realize that material goods, they do not give us happiness. यहाँ पे हम एक conclusion कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? ये हमारा एक conclusion हो सकता है, that we have to go back to the wisdom of sages, and that can be our conclusion. So this is the first essay. However, यहाँ पे एक essay में एक और चीज़ मैं highlight करना चाहता हूँ. If you look at the Hindi translation of this essay, the Hindi translation tells you, इच्छा रहित होने का दर्शन काल्पनिक आदर्श है. So the topic was philosophy of wantlessness is utopian, while materialism is chimera. इसका जो हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन है वो ये है that इच्छा रहित होने का दर्शन काल्पनिक आदर्श है जबकि भौतिकता माया है. ये हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन ये अच्छा नहीं है. काइमेरा इज डेफिनेटली नॉट माया. काइमेरा इज अ मॉन्स्टर. माया बहुत ही एक अलग चीज है. मतलब ठीक है, लिख सकते हैं ऐसे, अभी भी लिख सकते हैं, बट आई डिड नॉट लाइक द हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन हियर. बट एनीवेज ठीक है, ये यूपीएससी का हमेशा एक प्रॉब्लम रहा है दैट दे फर्स्ट have a topic and they forget about Hindi translation. Anyways, so this is all about this essay. This will be more or less the structure. If I have to write an essay, again I will, ये मैं अभी बता देता हूँ. If I have to write this essay, this is how I am going to approach it. ठीक है? तो देखो, एक ना बड़ा एक वो होता है कि हमको एनेक्डोट्स लिखने हैं, हमको पर्सनल स्टोरीज लिखने हैं, हमको कोट्स पता होने चाहिए. जरूरी नहीं है, फ्रैंकली. ठीक है, if you know these things, then it is amazing. If you know quotes, if you know anecdotes, if you know some interesting story, then it's amazing. But it's not necessary. Okay? Chalo. So this was the first topic. Let's discuss the second topic, which is even more philosophical and even more difficult. If you thought this topic was difficult, then the second topic is even more difficult. The real is rational and the rational is real. So now I am going to discuss the second topic, which was section A का fourth topic था. The real is rational and the rational is real. Now here is the thing, before I start discussing about this topic, इसका जो हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन वो बढ़िया है, सत्य ही यथार्थ है, यथार्थ ही सत्य है. तो यहां पे हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन बढ़िया है, सत्य ही यथार्थ है, यथार्थ ही सत्य है. Anyways, before I start talking about this topic, I am very sure that this was a familiar topic for students who have PSIR as an optional, because in political science you read about Hegel. Hegel is again a great, considered to be one of the founding father of Western philosophy, a great philosopher who inspired so many other philosophers, was inspired by many philosophers, a very important name in Western philosophy, a political thinker. He gives this quote, the real is rational and the rational is real. But here is the thing. तो ये देखो, ये normal लोगों को of course क्यों पता होगा? मुझे भी नहीं पता था. I even did not know. When I saw this topic, I googled it, found out that okay, this was Hegel reply to Immanuel Kant. Hegel was replying to Immanuel Kant. Kant was describing the nature of reality. Hegel did not agree to that, and in one of his book, Hegel writes this very famous quote: "The real is rational and the rational is real." If you know this story, that Hegel is replying to Kant, and I'm very sure that a lot of political science PSIR optional students unko pata hoga, then there is a very good chance that, I'm sorry to say that, but there is a very good chance that your essay will not be very good. आपका essay जो है, now you will be stuck into this Hegel versus Kant debate, and the entire time you will be explaining that only. Entire essay हो सकता है, देखो ये ना एक bias होता है, that if you have chosen a topic which is from your optional, and this is not only for PSIR, someday you will find a statement by Max Weber, sociology वालों को लगेगा कि हाँ ये तो इस पे तो हम पता नहीं क्या ही लिख देंगे, right? But here is the thing, that don't fall in this trap. If you, so for example, I will explain what Hegel meant, what Hegel meant, I will explain that, but with a caveat, that this explanation is not required at all while you are writing this essay. This is an essay in a general studies paper. Here you do not have to be a specialist. You do not have to have some deep knowledge of political science to explain the reasoning Hegel was giving while replying to Kant. You do not have to do that. So the best way to write this essay is that as a person who is reading this quote for the first time, even if you have PSI, and in fact this is a general suggestion for all of you who are watching and who will be watching, that अगर ऐसा कोई टॉपिक आए जो आपके ऑप्शनल का सीधे है, तो आप उसको एज अ जनरल स्टडीज स्टूडेंट की तरह उस टॉपिक को देखो. Do not look at this topic from an optional perspective. The moment you do that, then this will be a slippery slope. आप deep में चले जाओगे अपने optional में. हो सकता है examiner भी optional, उसको भी नहीं पता उतना. You never know. Why would you assume that this will be checked by a person who has a political science background, right? So this is a general studies paper, and we have to approach an essay with this perspective, that I am a general studies student. Whatever I have learned, whatever I have studied as a student of general studies, it should suffice in answering, in writing this essay on this topic. तो ये चीज देखो बहुत क्लियर होना चाहिए. So yes, this is a very famous quote by Hegel. I will briefly tell you what Hegel was saying in this topic, but with the caveat that it is not required. Hegel, as I told you, was a great philosopher. Immanuel Kant again is a great name. So Immanuel Kant, Hegel, they both were very interested in the nature of reality. What exactly is real? Kant says that there are things which you can see. He's called them phenomena. Things which our mind can perceive, our mind can comprehend. But at the same time, there are things our mind cannot comprehend. Pneumona. Phenomena, pneumona. Our mind cannot comprehend that. Lot of notions our mind, so our human mind is limited. Right? For example, a very simple thing, we think about the concept of soul. We all say that if somebody dies, someone has soul. Can I actually explain soul to someone? Atma kya hai? What is Atma? So Hegel says, so first of all, Kant says that, Kant tells you that there are things which cannot be explained. There are things which exist beyond human understanding. Okay? So any object or events which exist independently of human sense. Okay? This was Kantian interpretation of reality. Hegel says that you are not correct. Hegel says, अच्छा देखो, it is much more complicated than this. This is a very layman explanation. ये जो मैं explain कर रहा हूँ Hegel और Kant का, ये बहुत layman explanation है. Hegel says that this is not correct. Hegel says that ultimately all reality can be explained with rational explanation. He believes that human mind is not limited. Human mind has this capacity to comprehend things. So what Hegel tells you that more sooner or later, whatever we think reality is, that can be explained. The very fact, Hegel tells you that the very fact that you are saying that something exists beyond human understanding, then you are actually explaining that. So in a way, it is a paradoxical thing. ये हम explain नहीं कर सकते. Hegel says that we will be able to, अभी नहीं कर सकते, बाद में करेंगे. Very simple. Hegel says that real is rational, rational is real. Whatever our human senses can perceive, that has a rational explanation. But at the same time, whatever can be explained logically, that is also real. That is what Hegel was saying. But again, भूल जाओ, ये जो मैंने पिछले 4-5 मिनट में जो भी बताया मैंने हेगल कांत का जो भी इंटरप्रिटेशन था ऑन द नेचर ऑफ रियलिटी, वी डू नॉट हैव टू नो दैट. It can be a guide, if you know about it, it can be a guiding light, but it cannot be the basis of writing in the entire essay. It can be my guiding light. If, say for example, if I knew, if my optional is PSIR, if I knew about this quote, then it can be, again, it can guide me, but it cannot be the entire essay itself. बिकॉज हेगल ने पूरा बुक लिखा है इस चीज को एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए, उसको आप समरी आप उसी पे लिख दोगे पूरा का पूरा ऐसे, विच इज नॉट यूजफुल. सो हाउ आई एम गोइंग टू अप्रोच दिस essay? I am going to approach this essay as a student of general studies. There are two keywords here. There are only two keywords, real and rational. I need to know the meaning of these two words. And I'm very sure all of you have some, even if you do not have a philosophy background, even if you do not know political philosophy, Western philosophy, you have not done some depth study of spiritualism, I'm very sure that we have some understanding of real, what exactly is real. So for us, real is everything our human senses can perceive, everything which we, so for example, we have many human senses, 5 senses तो ऐसे ही हम बोलते हैं, things which we can see, things which we can hear, things which we can touch. But apart from that, there are many other human senses, things which we can perceive, right? 6th sense, 7th sense, हम अलग अलग senses की बात करते हैं. So reality basically is that something which human senses perceive. So what Hegel tells you, again, sorry that I talked about Hegel. So what it means is that whatever we perceive, there must be reason for it. So what is the meaning of rational? तो ये meaning था real का. Real क्या होता है? Real is something which can be perceived by our human senses. That is real. What is rational? Rational is if I can explain something, an object or an event. If I explain an object or an event with some reasoning, I have a theory. That theory is backed by experiments, that theory is backed by objectivity, that theory is backed by some data. Then that theory is rational. So what this statement tells you, that whatever our human senses perceive, that can be explained with proper reasoning, there is an explanation for that, and at the same time, whatever can be explained with a good reasoning, that must be real. Whatever can be explained with a good reasoning, that must be real. And if I have this interpretation in my mind, तो मैंने क्या interpret किया है? Simple interpret किया है. I just tried to answer what reality means. According to me, as a layman, I am not an expert in philosophy, but as a layman, I have done some studies. मैं UPSC aspirant हूँ. मैंने तैयारी करी है, कुछ तो मैंने books पढ़ा है. So I know the meaning of real, and I know the meaning of rational. And now I just need to explain that whatever is real is rational, and whatever rational is real. And in this topic also, I will tell you कि मैं जो बता रहा हूँ approach, जरूरी नहीं कि आपको वही approach adopt करना है. There can be n ways to approach this essay, n ways to write this essay. Whatever suits you, adopt that. For example, I am a student of science. When I saw this topic, I was thinking of a good example to explain this. So I am going to explain with a technical example, not that technical, but I am going to explain with a very interesting thing which all of us already know. We all have heard about Isaac Newton. सबको न्यूटन का पता है. I am going to tell you a story. And with this story, I think I will be able to convince you that how both of them can be explained with this story. Newton, very famously known for his universal law of gravitation. Newton was very interested in answering a very simple question, that why apple falls on the ground. Apple falling on the ground is a real phenomena for Newton, so he wanted a rational explanation for it. Understand? I am narrating a story, and how this story is related to this topic given here. Newton wanted to understand why apple falls on the ground. That is a real event for Newton. He wanted an explanation for it. There must be a reason. He wanted a rational explanation, and he came up with this idea of that every object in the universe is attracting each other, and he gave his universal law of gravitation, that this force of attraction is proportional to the masses and inversely proportional to the square of distance. I am not going to explain the mathematical formula here, but I hope everybody knows about gravity. Newton also told us that in fact we know by this time it was established that Earth is revolving around Sun. अभी तक ये establish हो गया था that Earth is revolving around Sun. So Newton was also able to explain that why is it so? Why Earth is revolving around Sun, and he came to a very simple explanation that it is because of gravitational force. So because Earth is revolving, or because apple falls on Earth, gravitational force is real, and that reality can be explained with gravitational force. But here is the thing, ये मैंने first part explain किया है अभी. The real is rational with the use of gravitational force. But here is the thing, Newton was very amused. Sun and Earth are very far away from each other. हमारे लिए हमारा जो एक notion of reality है वो क्या है? That two things exert force on each other if they are in physical contact. मैंने ये mouse है, इसको मैंने फेंक दिया. So there is a physical contact here. I have applied a force here because there is a physical contact here. But Earth and Sun are very far away from each other. In fact, it seems that everything which is governed by gravity, they are very far away from each other. They do not have to be even in close vicinity. Earth and Sun, they are millions of kilometers away from each other, and still Sun is exerting at this force. अब ये force क्यों है? फिर हमारा nature of reality हमारा क्या बोलता है? Nature of reality हमारा बोलता है that for force we require physical contact, but we do know that here there is no physical contact. Then why force is there? So Newton described this phenomena as action at distance. Action at distance. he says that this action at distance definitely is governed by a law, by an agent. That agent follows a law. If that agent is material or immaterial, that has a philosophical interpretation, and he leaves this to his readers. Understand the entire story. I will repeat the story. Newton comes up with the idea of gravity. He explains that there is a gravitational force between sun and earth. But at the same time, जो हमारा existing understanding है, that for force we require physical contact. So why sun is applying a force on earth, or earth is applying a force on sun, which are millions of kilometers away from each other? Newton termed that as action at distance, and that action at distance is because of some agent. If that agent is it has some material conception, if it is immaterial, Newton leaves that to the reader. And same is also true for charges. Positive charges repel each other even if they are far away from each other. Negative charges attract each other even if they are far away from each other. So this was explained by another scientific rule that we use, that there is a gravitational field. Sun has its own gravitational field, earth has its own gravitational field, and actually these fields interact. And because of this interaction of field, there is a mutual gravitational force. But we cannot see this field. Can we see this field? Can we perceive this field? We can perceive it because we know that earth is revolving around sun. But can we see this field? The answer is no, we cannot. Similarly, charges also have electromagnetic field. A positive charge has electromagnetic field associated with it. A negative charge also has an electromagnetic field associated with it. Sun objects which have mass, they have gravitational field associated with it. And these fields interact with each other. Okay? Can we see this field? The answer is no, we cannot see this field. But this explanation that an electromagnetic field exists or a gravitational field exists perfectly explains Newton's idea of action at distance. So it is a rational explanation that why two things which are very far away from each other are still able to exert force. So there is a very good explanation for that, and that explanation is every object has an associated field with it. An object with mass will have gravitational field, an object with charge will have electromagnetic field, and so on and so on. This field theory is so important that in fact one of the most important theory of quantum mechanics, which is known as quantum field theory, tells you that everything is field. जो particles हैं, these are excitations of field. अब थोड़ा ये technical हो गया, I'm not going into that technicality. But this field explanation of force at distance, this explanation is rational and hence it must be real. That is what the second statement, second part of this essay is telling you, that the rational is real. And yes, here the rational is real. Even though we do not see the field, I know that field is there, because without field I cannot explain this force of attraction, or in case of charges, force of attraction and force of repulsion. Clear? कैसे स्टोरी से मैंने दोनों चीज एक्सप्लेन कर दिया. The real is rational and the rational is real. In fact, when I was thinking about this topic, because I have a science background, तो I realized कि अगर मैं इस टॉपिक को लिखने लगूँ तो मैं भी वही गलती करूँगा जो एक PSI और ऑप्शनल का स्टूडेंट करेगा. Even though my interpretation seemed to be correct, I will use a lot of examples from science. I will talk about quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics does not make any sense to our human mind, but we know that it is true because it perfectly explains a lot of phenomena. So it must be true. It must be real. So, but ये again, ये slippery slope में नहीं जाना है हमको. मैं जब इस ऐसे टॉपिक के बारे में brainstorm कर रहा था, so बहुत सारे मेरे पास ये आइडियाज आने लगे. क्वांटम इंटैंगलमेंट, क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स, special theory of relativity. But if I start doing that, then this is again problematic. I will be doing the same problem which a PSIR optional student will do. कि मैं एक साइड मेरा नॉलेज बहुत स्ट्रांग है, उसको मैंने पूरा उसी साइड पे पूरा ऐसे मैंने उसी पे लिख दिया. अगर मैं ये करूंगा तो गड़बड़ होगा. तो आई विल हैव टू फाइंड मोर एंड मोर. आई नीड टू एक्सप्लेन फर्स्ट रियल इज रैशनल एंड रैशनल इज रियल. इसको अलग अलग मैं एक्सप्लेन करूंगा यूजिंग लॉट्स एंड लॉट्स ऑफ एग्जाम्पल्स, राइट, यूजिंग लॉट्स ऑफ एग्जाम्पल. There is a question by Munal. Munal is asking, sir, which book should I read for writing philosophical essays? I am in first year in my degree course. Please suggest me books. Okay. So, Munal, सबसे पहले एक बहुत important चीज़ मैं बता दूं कि philosophical quotes की कमी तो है नहीं दुनिया में. You will find there are millions of quotes. UPSC can ask any of those quotes, any of those philosophical quotes. तो एक book या few books that will not help you. मैं आपको बता दूं कि हाँ ये बुक पढ़ लो, उससे सारे philosophical essays आपके हो जाएंगे. That cannot be true. That will never happen, right? So rather than that, what I will suggest that there are some books, some general books, which will not help you in a particular topic, but it will help in an overall development, which will help you in writing essay. जैसे अमर्त्य सेन की किताबें उठा लो, आप अमर्त्य सेन की बुक्स उठा लो, द आइडिया ऑफ जस्टिस, रीड आर्गुमेंटेटिव इंडियन, राइट, अनसर्टेन ग्लोरी, रीड बुक्स लाइक दैट. ओके, रीड अबाउट सम बेसिक्स. फॉर एग्जांपल व्हेन वी आर स्टडीइंग अबाउट इंडियन फिलोसोफर्स, बुद्धिज्म के बारे में थोड़ा डिटेल में पढ़ो, जाके बुद्धिज्म जैनिज्म के बारे में डिटेल में पढ़ो, द बेसिस ऑफ बुद्धास मिडिल पाथ. गो एंड रीड अबाउट दैट. Right? Read about Indian philosophy, for example, read about Gita also. Read about some popular books which are written, आपके syllabus में जो भी keywords हैं, उन keywords पे जो भी popular book आती है, जैसे public policy पे कोई book आती है, public institutions के improvement पे कुछ book आती है, go and read that. So it cannot be just one book, right? In general, जो बहुत ऐसे कुछ famous names हैं, जैसे ऑन द टॉप ऑफ माई माइंड अमर्त्य सेन का नाम आता है, तो उनकी कुछ राइटिंग पढ़ो आप. हिंदू के एडिटोरियल्स थोड़ा डिटेल में पढ़ो, बहुत सारे फिलोसॉफिकल. कल या परसों का हिंदू का एक एडिटोरियल है अबाउट राइट्स वर्सेस ड्यूटी. आपने राइट्स वर्सेस ड्यूटी का एक बड़ा डिबेट होते रहते हैं, दैट व्हाट आर राइट्स, व्हाट आर ड्यूटीज. गो एंड रीड एन एडिटोरियल विच आई थिंक वाज इन डे बिफोर यस्टरडेज हिंदू. Read that editorial, such a beautifully written editorial that is. You will never find a summary of that editorial in monthly magazine or any summary of newspaper. तो ये पढ़ो आप, editorial खुद से पढ़िए. तो बहुत बार what I will suggest कि हिंदू के जो editorials हैं, especially when they write about some philosophical issues, some abstract concepts, read those editorials, try to understand those editorials. Apart from that, some basic textbooks, जैसे argumentative Indian पढ़ के देखो एक बार, argumentative Indian, go and read that. That is a book which I can suggest. Okay? चलो, coming back to this topic. So, let's understand real is rational. What do you mean by real is rational? So, एक तो मैंने story से बताया आपको, न्यूटन की story बताई. Now, let me explain real is rational को मैं और कैसे क्या क्या लिख सकता हूँ यहाँ पे. Real is rational basically means that whatever our senses perceive a phenomena or an object and we try to explain it, we try to find a rational explanation for it. Our senses have perceived a phenomena, something which I cannot explain right now, but I try to find an explanation. I try to find a rational explanation for it. So this is also, ये जो real is rational है, this is the basis of development of human knowledge है. Basis of development of human knowledge है, and I can tell you a lot of stories. In medieval world, there was a belief that Earth is at the center of universe. Some scientists, Galileo, Copernicus, thought that that cannot be true. There are a lot of phenomena. For example, the fact that day and night occurs. There are a lot of phenomena that tells us that Earth clearly is not the center of universe. Earth is actually revolving around sun, right? So, real is rational. They saw that day and night are real. Day and night occurs. Sun sets, rises in the east, sets in the west. And they were come to a conclusion that it is not because Earth is the center of universe, but it is because, and everything else is revolving around Earth, it is because Earth and other planets are actually revolving around sun, right? So it is the basis of development of human knowledge. Seasons occur, day and night occur. Why we fall ill? These are some very basic questions. Why we fall ill? This is a phenomena that someone has fallen ill, right? That is a reality that someone is sick. He is not feeling well. Why is he not feeling well? What can be the reason behind it? So if I try to find a rational explanation, that is a real phenomena and I have to find a rational explanation for it. The moment I do that, human knowledge grows. हम क्यों बीमार पड़ते हैं? That has led to development of the entire medical sector, the entire health sector. Can you imagine? Normal infection से पहले लोग मर जाते थे, कोलेरा से मर जाते थे लोग. There used to be plague से मर रहे हैं लोग. There used to be huge plagues for millions of, right now also we have epidemic. We are also going through an epidemic. But we are epidemic, ऐसा नहीं पहली बार हुआ है. Epidemic past में भी हुए हैं. But in past, millions of people died. Right now, despite such a huge population, we are still fighting against this pandemic. So, real is rational. That is also a basis of development of human knowledge. That is a basis of development of human knowledge in, say, for example, natural sciences. Why seasons occur? Why there is day and night? Why do we fall sick? It is also a basis for development of societal knowledge. What will lead to, there is a society जहाँ पे बहुत conflict है, there is a society जहाँ पे बहुत peace है. What are the reasons why one society, one group of people, a particular village or a particular town or a particular state or a particular country is peaceful while other is not? That is a real phenomena, that okay, this country is peaceful, there are very less conflicts there. Norway is very peaceful, Switzerland is very peaceful, India is not. What do they have that we do not have? So when we try to explain these things, it leads to development of social sciences, right? So it is not only true for development of natural sciences, but also for social sciences. Lot of development which is happening in technological era. Just think about, now we are living in an era जहाँ पे cryptocurrencies की बातें हम कर रहे हैं. So I'm talking about here that this can be development. I can explain this with development in natural sciences. Development in natural sciences. Development in social sciences. Right? Other modern development, technological development. जैसे we are living in an era जहाँ पे cryptocurrencies are becoming popular. Despite so many warnings, कल RBI governor ने एक warning दी है that Bitcoin has no value. It does not have a value of a tulip also. But still Bitcoins are very famous. Non-fungible tokens are very famous. So there must be a rational explanation for it. Bitcoins exist even in a digital form, a form which we cannot see. Bitcoins do not have a physical form. They are part of like your internet banking. जो बैलेंस आप देखते हो पैसे आपके हाथ में तो नहीं है, but वो बैलेंस आपको रिफ्लेक्ट होता है. So Bitcoin also has exist in a digital form, and still lot of people are willing to believe in it, are willing to bet upon it. So there must be a rational explanation for it. Non-fungible tokens. People are buying and selling art digitally using blockchain technology. Why is it happening? There must be a rational reason for it. So real is rational, that what our senses can perceive, that leads to development of human knowledge. But here comes the second part. Rational is real. Our senses are not perfect. Perfect in the sense, we are bound by what we perceive to be the reality versus what actually is happening. Lot of things do not make sense to us, but still it is true. जैसे lot of people felt that earth is flat. Earth is not moving, earth is flat. But it turns out that earth is not flat. We saw, we observed, we gave a rational explanation that if earth was flat, फिर जो ship जब जा रहा हो दूर वो हमको ऐसे sink होते हुए नहीं दिखता. If ship is sinking, then it means that earth has a curved surface. Right? तो बहुत simple चीजें, simple phenomena, simple rational explanation. That if I can explain something rationally, then it means it is real. If I can explain that why this ship is sinking, if I have a binocular and I am looking at the ship, it's sinking below the horizon. I cannot explain that sinking of ship. If earth was flat, it means that earth has a curve. Earth is spherical. Turns out earth is not flat. So rational is real. If I can rationally explain something, then it is real. Okay? That is a simple explanation. So many observations, there are many observations. At time it felt that ये कुछ सही है, because we are bound by our own limitations. But turns out gradually we were able to come up with a rational explanation. A lot of things were not explainable. For example, if we assumed earth to be flat, then a lot of things were not explainable. So we came up with a rational explanation. And that rational explanation tells us a reality, and that reality is that earth is sphere. Earth has a curved surface, not a perfect sphere, but it has a curved surface. Right? And this fact that rational is real is also source of curiosity. This is a source of curiosity. And hence also development of knowledge, very similar to what we just saw above. It is a source of curiosity, very important part of growth of human knowledge. For example, think about many problems right now, which we are, in past we were not able to explain कि लोग हम बीमार क्यों पड़ रहे हैं, why someone is falling sick. Now we can explain that. For many diseases we can explain that. In past we could not explain lot of phenomena assuming earth is flat. Now we know that earth is not flat. Even today there are many problems which we cannot explain. For example, we cannot explain protein synthesis in our body. We cannot explain the concept of quantum gravity. I'm talking about again examples of science, but I have many more examples. We cannot explain a lot of things. For example, in society, think about how a lot of people feel that centralized decision making will lead to more efficiency. Centralized decision making will lead to more efficiency. But it turns out that it is not true. Decentralization is better. In many things, in some cases perhaps centralization is better, but in many cases decentralization is better. So now there is a lot of focus on decentralization. Rational is real. For example, a rational explanation, we talk about gender rights. अभी तक मैं साइंस की बात कर रहा था. Rational is real में मैंने कुछ scientific phenomena की बात की थी. Now I am talking about some social phenomena. Rational is real. A very rational thing to say will be, that if more women participate in economy, then economic growth will increase. More labor force participation rate among women will lead to more economic growth. It will ensure gender rights. That is a rational thing, and it turns out it is also real. It turns out that this is also real, that yes, if women do participate in more economic activity, then a country progresses. So yes, that is real. Okay? A lot of times we find some very easy explanation for things. We explain that people are poor because they are lazy. Turns out that that is again not a good explanation. Someone is poor because of n number of reasons. We cannot say that they are lazy. So rational means that we are not bound by our preconceived notions, our prejudices, and our socialization, what our socialization has taught us. We are open to understanding. We are open to accept new ideas. We are open to accept new evidences. Right? No matter, even if it creates dissonance. होता है ना कि हमारा जो एटीट्यूड एक बना हुआ है, उस एटीट्यूड को हम अगर नहीं, उस एटीट्यूड से अलग अगर हमको कुछ पता चलता है, I have a certain ideology about something. I believe that capital punishment should occur. But suddenly I find a study that capital punishment does not help. That will create dissonance. I will try to reject that idea. कि नहीं नहीं ये study में कुछ fault है. We are filled with biases, but those biases are irrational. That is what you need to explain here in this topic. Rational is real. एक बहुत important theme ये भी होगा, that lot of our biases, they are not rational, they are irrational. They are there because of our socialization, because of how we have evolved as a human beings. Right? But we have to have an open mind. We have to accept new ideas, new evidences. Only then it will lead to intellectual development. Only then it will lead to questioning the existing beliefs. Only then it will lead to questioning the authority. And only then it will lead to overall development of society. ठीक है? तो जब हम बात करते हैं कि rational is real, ठीक है? That leads to, ultimately leads to development of knowledge. It leads to innovation. I'm again going to do this same analysis at global level. Again, I'm going back to environmental issues. Environmental issues. Lot of people will say that climate change जो है तो कुछ है ही नहीं. Last president of United States of America used a lot of examples such as that there was somewhere there was a snowstorm and he will say कि climate change तो गलत है. देखो snowstorm है यहाँ पे, कहाँ पे गर्मी हो रही है. So first of all, Donald Trump does not understand the difference between global warming and climate change. They both are different phenomena. They both are saying different things. Even though they are interconnected, they are saying different things. Climate change is saying extreme of events. More snowfall, more avalanches, more landslides, more cyclones. Global warming is one of the aspects of climate change, right? So we can also say, a person can say कि देखो मुझे तो कुछ खास लग नहीं रहा, मुझे ना लग नहीं रहा है कि कुछ ग्लोबल वार्मिंग वगैरह है, मुझे लगता है कि आज से 10 साल पहले भी ऐसे ही था. I don't think anyone in India will at least say that. In 10 years definitely we can feel a difference. But let's say there is a person who is saying that no मुझे नहीं लग रहा. So again we are bound by our limitations of human mind. So अब क्या है? But we have a rational explanation. We have a rational explanation of global warming, that why global warming will occur, how climate change can occur. We have a rational explanation for that. Then it must be real. And yes, climate change is real. I can use this example in my essay. तो आपका essay जितना multifaceted, जितना multidimensional होगा, उतना ज़्यादा बढ़िया होगा. अभी हम थोड़ी देर पहले बात कर रहे थे, पिछले टॉपिक में हम material goods की बात कर रहे थे. That ideally material goods should give us happiness, but turns out they do not. Because our mind has very contracted notion of happiness. Real happiness, as I told you, comes from many other sources, not from money. And there is a rational explanation that why happiness will not come from money but from other things. अभी मैंने पिछले टॉपिक पे जो एक्सप्लेन करा था. I can use this here also. Right? So, what is the source of happiness? If I try to explain it rationally, it turns out money is not an important source. Other sources are much more important. So it must be real. If I want true happiness, then rather than pursuing money, I should pursue other things. I should pursue good work, community work. I should pursue excellence in my work. Only then I will be happy, right? So rational is real. तो ये हमने दोनों चीजें एक्सप्लेन करी. रियल इज रैशनल, development of knowledge, we see phenomena, we see objects, we try to explain that. We try to explain with proper reasoning. Okay? And that reasoning leads to development of human knowledge, development of many disciplines as they have occurred. Similarly, when I can, but, जो second part है, rational is real, right? So human mind has its own limitation. We suffer from our own biases. And only when we are open to new ideas and new evidences, we can become rational. And only then we can find the reality. So rational is real also leads to curiosity, leads to new knowledge. Something which we did not know even existed. Real is rational. We have our human senses has we have seen something, we have perceived something, we want to explain that. But here, something which we do not even have seen, something which we do not have perceived as of now, right? But we find an explanation. We find an explanation, something which our human senses cannot perceive. For example, I cannot perceive climate change. Maybe I cannot perceive climate change, but I have a rational explanation for it. So it must be real. तो इस पे हमको ये हमारा सेकेंड पार्ट ऑफ ऐसे होगा. तो पहले पार्ट में पहले तो इंटरप्रिटेशन हम बताएंगे, रियल इज रैशनल को एक्सप्लेन करेंगे, रैशनल इज रियल को एक्सप्लेन करेंगे, एंड फाइनली वी कैन कंक्लूड दैट दिस कंटिन्यूअस स्ट्राइव फॉर रीजनिंग, राइट, where we are not bound by our own perceptions, our preconceived notions about objects and phenomena that surround us. When we are not bound by that, only then we will be able to perceive the nature of reality, only then we will be able to find the nature of reality. Okay? That can be a very good conclusion. Okay? So we have to look at things with a broader perspective, not with a narrow mind. We have to look at things at broader perspective. Only when we do that, we will find the nature of reality. So here I am now taking a cue from Hegel and Kant debate. But again, never in my essay I talked about Hegel and Kant at all. In conclusion, even I am not even naming them. I am just saying in my conclusion I have taken a simple cue from them that with this we will be able to find nature of reality. That can be my conclusion. Or whatever you feel like can be a good conclusion, you can do that on your own. Okay? So this was a difficult topic, this was not an easy topic. The rational is real, the real is rational, and the rational is real. This was not an easy topic, but if you deconstruct two words, there are just two words, and there is a relationship between these two in this entire statement. If you deconstruct everything, आपका बना बनाया एक structure मिल जाएगा, आप खाली उसको explain कर दो, you will write a very good essay. So those who are going to watch this lecture or who are watching, this can be your homework. ये जो दो topic मैंने अभी discuss किए हैं, take some time. Whatever I have not written an essay, I have just suggested a structure. So maybe now, perhaps using this structure, or perhaps if you have a structure of your own, this can be your homework that takes some time, take 2 hours to write one topic. एक बार में एक ही topic लिखो, अभी आपने just preparation शुरू करा है, तो एक बार में एक ही topic पे लिखो, but लिखो जाके. Write down the first topic in 2 hours, take 2 hours. Exam में आपको 1.5 घंटे में लिखना है, 1.5 hours में लिखना है. But you take 2 hours, write on the first topic and then write on the second topic. Please do that. So all the best guys, and take care, and thank you.